Thank you. It's good to see the Vice Mayor here and the chairman of our 5 committees that are going to principally undertake the review of the work that we're going to be talking about today. Good afternoon. Now, over the past 2 years, I've worked with the Tennessee Titans and our partners at the state to find a way to meet our city's current stadium lease obligation. And let me spend a moment to talk about our current lease. Under the original 1996 lease for Nissan Stadium, Nashville taxpayers are on the hook for stadium maintenance and improvements to keep that facility in first-class condition. Now, the facility has fallen out of that condition, and the current lease runs until 2039. Now, Nissan Stadium requires substantial improvements to fulfill the legal obligation to the team under the current lease. And it's well known that we initially pursued a renovation strategy, believing that simple renovation would be financially more prudent. But we learned during this process that a renovation would be much more expensive than we initially thought. And to tell us how expensive a renovation would be for taxpayers, we worked with the Metro Council to hire our own independent consultant, and that is Venue Solutions Group. And I can report today that VSG estimates that Metro would owe the Titans between $1.75 billion and $1.95 billion over the remaining 17 years of the current stadium lease. Now, to be clear, those would be general fund dollars that could otherwise support essential priorities like our public schools and first responders. And as I said in a public letter 5 months ago, I found it simply unacceptable to ask Nashville residents to pay hundreds of millions of dollars for a sports stadium. 26 years ago, Nashvillians made a smart bet by paying to build an NFL stadium to recruit the Titans to town, but things are different in 2022. We are in a new era, and we can negotiate a better deal. And asking Nashville residents to again shoulder the burden of paying for a stadium is not something that I was willing to do. So rather than proposing Nashville residents pay to renovate and maintain the current stadium, we pursued other options that will shift the cost off of Metro's general fund. Now, to remind you of our goals for this process, let me go over the commitments I made to Nashvillians back in May. Number one, we wouldn't raise sales tax or property tax to pay for a new stadium. Number two, the Titans and visitors to the stadium campus would be the primary funding source for stadium construction. Number three, the Titans, not taxpayers, would cover any construction cost overruns. Number four, unlike in the current lease, the Titans would take on the financial responsibility of maintaining the stadium. Number five, we would not sell any public land to finance the stadium. Number six, the campus would provide high-paying jobs, green space, and affordable housing. And finally, number seven, any new agreement would result in the Titans staying in Nashville for the long haul. Now, after months of negotiation, I can proudly say that we delivered on every one of those commitments. We've agreed to terms on a new stadium using funds that cannot be spent elsewhere on our core priorities like education and community safety. By state law, the funds in this new stadium lease are not available for other city purposes. And doing nothing was not practical or responsible option under the lease. And renovating the current aging stadium proved financially irresponsible. So we're proposing a new stadium paid for by the team, the state, tourists, and spending around the stadium, not by your family. Now, using this financial strategy, we're getting a much better stadium and a much better deal. And now a word about the new stadium. The proposed stadium would be built directly east of Nissan Stadium on what is currently parking lots. Metro would regain control of 66 acres of land, including the existing Nissan Stadium site. And under the current lease, It would have remained as a parking lot for the next 17 years, and now it can serve the whole city with a large park, greenways, affordable housing, and a north-south transit spine that will be a huge help to anyone getting around in our inner loop. And all this is made possible without a general fund subsidy or selling or gifting any public land. All stadium-related infrastructure costs are included in this proposal, and any cost overruns are covered by the team. I am grateful to Amy, Adam Strunk, Burke Nihill, and the entire Titans organization for their commitment to Nashville. Amy is a terrific partner for our community, and residents' tax dollars can now go to core city services instead of covering future ongoing maintenance on a new stadium. As part of this proposal, the Titans will also waive the $32 million of outstanding maintenance bills owed on Nissan Stadium, and the team has agreed to pay off the remaining $30 million in stadium bonds. Now, today's new stadium proposal would not be possible without Governor Lee and our valued partners in the state legislature. Governor Lee and the legislature recognize the Titans' enormous contributions to the state's economy, and thank you to the state leadership who made this possible with a critical grant and by allowing future sales taxes generated on this new campus to fund the stadium. And I want to recognize the strong support of our hospitality industry. Hotel guests to Nashville will help pay for this project. And as was the case with bringing Oracle here, the Titan Stadium project is a great example of a public-private, state, and local partnership coming together to secure a big win for Tennesseans. Together, we're making sure that the Titans stay in Tennessee for generations to come, and I'm proud to send to the Sports Authority and to the Metro Council a proposal that relieves a nearly $2 billion burden on Nashville taxpayers. We're also getting 66 acres of land under the current lease back to the city, and we are building a world-class asset for Nashville, owned by Metro, without relying on the city's general fund or any general obligation debt. We've gotten taxpayers out of the stadium maintenance business, and by ripping up the old lease and working with our partners, we're focusing your tax dollars on what really matters, serving your neighborhood. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'd like to begin by acknowledging Mayor Cooper's dedication to this project. Throughout our discussions, his primary focus was finding the best solution for the residents of Nashville and Davidson County, and we couldn't be more appreciative of his efforts. Mayor Cooper, thank you for your collaboration with us over the past 2 years and for your dedication to the people you serve. I'd also like to thank the state of Tennessee and the Tennessee State Legislature for their support. Know that we fully understand what an honor and responsibility it is to represent Nashville and Tennessee. And in everything we do, we will strive to continue to make this community proud. Our history in Nashville started in 1995 with one simple phone call from our offices in Houston to Nashville City Hall. Our founder, Bud Adams, had made the decision to move his NFL team from Houston, and even after hearing compelling pitches from several interested cities, Mr. Adams had his heart set on one place, Nashville, Tennessee. After studying the potential relocation markets, he immediately felt a deep connection with Nashville. He was impressed by the people who live here. They were friendly, hardworking, and served each other well. He sensed the pride that people felt for their city and state. He wanted his team to be a part of this remarkable community. So Mr. Adams asked his assistant to place that phone call to connect him with city officials so he could express his sincere interest in exploring the possibility of moving his NFL team to Nashville. Technically speaking, a second phone call from Houston to Nashville was probably the more important phone call. You see, that first phone call ended abruptly when the receptionist at City Hall hung up on Mr. Adams' assistant, thinking it surely must be a prank call. Thankfully, his assistant was resilient and apparently convincing in the end, because she eventually managed to connect Mr. Adams with Nashville officials, and the rest is history. We've come a long way since 1995. In 1995, the idea of Nashville being an NFL city was beyond audacious. No one could have imagined that day the community galvanizing moments this partnership would create for our region. From a delirious crowd celebrating the Music City Miracle during the 1999 playoffs, to 600,000 people attending one of the most dynamic events in the history of professional sports during the 2019 NFL Draft. Our mission statement is to win, serve, and entertain. And it has been our great honor to live out those three pillars in Nashville, Tennessee for the past 25 years. And now, here we are, in this moment, announcing that we've agreed to terms that will recommit this organization to Nashville for another generation. We are humbled by the way the city and state have wrapped their arms around us, thankful for what has been built so far, and excited to be standing at the doorstep of the next era of the Tennessee Titans. As Mayor Cooper outlined, the current stadium lease was a significant financial liability for Nashville. That was a reality that neither the city nor the team was willing to accept. This new agreement is the win-win-win scenario we always believed was possible. Nashville's new stadium will be a game changer for the city and the community. Using fan and resident input, we are designing a stadium inspired by the character and spirit of Tennessee. The new stadium will be capable of hosting the world's greatest events, such as the Super Bowl, the Final Four, and college football playoffs. The stadium will enhance the national and international reputation of our great city and state and generate billions of dollars in economic activity for local businesses and government budgets. More importantly, we are committed to designing a facility with spaces to serve our neighbors throughout Nashville and Tennessee with regular community programming. This stadium will be the people's house. Schools will have educational opportunities and rooms designed for that purpose. High school football teams will play their biggest games on the same field as their NFL heroes. Job fairs, nonprofit fundraisers, conferences, and training seminars can take place year-round in any type of weather. The new stadium will powerfully stimulate our local and regional economy and create thousands of jobs, both during construction and for the long term. It will proudly represent our city and state during internationally celebrated events we could have never dreamed of hosting 25 years ago. The agreement presented today is the product of a tremendous amount of work and represents input from stakeholders and residents across the state. We look forward to the process ahead with Metro City Council, the Sports Authority, and members of our community as these discussions continue. This agreement represents a generational moment for Nashville, for Tennessee, and for the Tennessee Titans. The past 25 years have been transformational for this region and our organization, and we believe the best is yet to come. Thank you.
We have time for a few questions. Go ahead.
Hotel rooms are more expensive, sometimes just as expensive in Nashville versus places like New York. How will we continue to be affordable to tourists with a new hotel tax?
Well, of course, we're concerned about affordability in Nashville, but our hospitality industry is decisively supporting this additional 1% tax going from 6 to 7%. Added to the sales tax, that drives it again from 15% to 16%. But it is our hospitality industry that is supporting this project, that is deeply committed to it, and I think their view is it really is not, frankly, making that much difference in this. There are thousands of hotel rooms under construction. Nashville occupancy rates have been great. Our recovery really is the strongest in the country since COVID. And for them to help use tourist fees to create an asset for the entire community, which this new stadium will be, I think is a benefit to the city.
Mayor Cooper, you said that this new stadium would not be paid for by the citizens of Nashville. Wouldn't it be more accurate to say that Nashville families will, in fact, be paying at least some of the cost of this new stadium through the money that the state is giving them?
Well, that's a matter for the state. What this council is evaluating, what I'm evaluating, is what's on the Metro side. And it used to be that on the Metro side, we did put money into stadiums. We did gift land. We did have maintenance agreements with teams. This is a big change from the old way of doing business and from the old lease. And if you compare the old lease with the new lease, this is a dramatic improvement for Nashville taxpayers, and no money from Nashville taxpayers that could go to the general fund is being used to fund the ongoing maintenance or the construction of the stadium. And this is in part because the team is stepping up and shouldering the largest burden. The state, believing that this is really an economic development opportunity for the state, is doing a large share as well. And then, as we mentioned earlier, the hotel and hospitality industry is deeply committed to helping provide an asset for Nashville that is not paid for by the taxpayers, but in fact is paid for by our robust tourist economy.
Why announce this 2 weeks before that full venue solutions group report is coming out?
Oh, well, we are announcing it today in part because their top line, their memo, I got a memo today confirming what their report is going to say. And I think it's important to have that validation for the Metro Council, and the Metro Council will have 3 readings. It'll be quite a process. I think there are going to be many, many committee hearings as that report is examined in detail. But construction costs are going up. We know that the Titans are willing to step in right now and cover any overage that's going to exist on the cost of the stadium, any cost overruns, cover any future maintenance. And time is always important in this moment of opportunity that exists for the city to get such a remarkable better deal done. In the end, does it matter whether it's 1.75 billion or 1.95 billion? That's in the billions, and it's money that we don't have. So it is curing one of the greatest unfunded liabilities that has been on our balance sheet forever. And again, I think it's great that VSG is willing, will come before the council and confirm their findings in detail.
2 questions, Mayor Cooper. One for you and one for Bert. First is, I know you just talked a little bit about it, but do we have to wait till find out what it is exactly they're breaking down that makes it more expensive to renovate the old stadium, or can you just, run off the list for us for a little bit?
Well,
For Bert, I'm just gonna throw this question out. Can you tell us what this stadium is? The dome, no dome, what that's gonna look like, just so people have a vision of what that new stadium's gonna look like.
well, I'll go first, and I know Burke would be excited to share a little bit today and a lot more in a future press conference. The VSG estimates are pretty comprehensive. I know it sounds to the public that there have been a lot of different estimates, but if you track through them carefully, there is actually an evolution of how it got to be so high. This estimate is the all-in estimate, including our future estimated maintenance costs for the balance of the lease, which really was never included in any estimate before. And that's quite a lot over the next 16 or 17 years to keep in first-class condition an aging stadium that frankly was never really built to last for that long. It was a little bit more of a temporary solution. The team was an experiment. We were trying to get it done as inexpensively as possible back in the 90s. That was a good judgment call in that time. But we're grateful to be in a city that now we can provide a different financing strategy from it just being back on the Nashville taxpayer to help support one of these initiatives. Now our robust tourism economy can help support it. Our partners in the state, understanding the economic development opportunity of the team, is willing to support this. And then the team itself is willing to step up and again do the majority of funding for the stadium and to remove what has been the Nashville taxpayer role in building a stadium. But here's Burke, I know, would love to talk to you a little bit about the exciting new building.
Sure. As some basic nuts and bolts, we're talking about, first of all, the mayor mentioned it, we're talking about a building that would be built in the east parking lots of the current stadium campus. We're talking about a building that would be about 1.7 million square feet, capacity of somewhere between 55,000 and 60,000. And before you ask the follow-up question, yes, that's a building that's big enough to support a Super Bowl and all of those other huge events. In terms of design inspiration, we recognize that the centrality of this location and the beautiful neighborhood that the city will be building around it requires an architecture that is built on Nashville and Tennessee character. So we are not trying to build the most opulent building that has been built. It is not our ambition to be a feature-rich building. We are trying to build the smartest building, one that can be built on budget and one that will make Nashville and Tennessee proud for decades and decades to come.
Mr. Myhill, will existing season ticket holders have to buy a new PSL with this building, or has that been determined yet?
We're still working out details, but yes, PSLs will be a part of a new building, just like almost every stadium project of this scope over the last few decades. But we are working on a plan to respect and honor our existing season ticket members and PSL holders. That will include opportunity to have first rights at future PSLs. We are working on a credit system where every existing PSL holder will be entitled to a credit in the new building that's in line with the value of the PSL in the year in which they acquired it. We're working on many more details that will come into focus over the next few weeks and months. In the meantime, we will have a website available to answer season ticket member questions.
Mayor Cooper, of course, the Nashville tourism scene is bustling right now, but who frankly knows what it's going to look like 3 decades from now? What happens and who foots the bill if the hotel motel taxes, that hospitality tax money, doesn't come through as people are expecting it might now?
Well, the team ultimately is willing to step in and bridge that. Now, the hotel tax, again, part of the financing of this is to do it conservatively, to anticipate that markets can be difficult. But the city has a challenge right now with its obligations in the economy. You know, the city right now has to come up with tens of millions of dollars, in fact, $1 billion liability. So any economic downturn with our current lease would also be a challenge for the city. So an economic downturn with this future lease, actually the city would be in better shape than it is now.
But I just want
Hang on,
to, I just
we
want
want to move it around the room a
Is
little
there
bit.
any concern about some of the more extreme policies at the state level, keeping some of the events that you're talking about from coming to Tennessee, like the abortion ban, potentially a gay marriage ban, that kind of thing?
Well, the state has been a great partner on this. I think the state deeply believes in economic development. The state believes that the Titans Stadium is fundamental to the economic development and image of Tennessee going forward, and I think it decisively was passed by the legislature, and I don't see any reason why they would not stand by their decision.
We're talking about the leagues not wanting to bring their events here. Is there any concern about that? Has there been any discussion about that?
Well, no. I mean, I think the NFL is deeply supportive of Nashville, deeply supportive of this event. I think the NFL views Nashville as a great partner, and that the draft has been the most successful event in that regard ever. And I think there couldn't really be a better relationship between the NFL and the Titans and the city at this point, and I don't see any of that being a problem, actually.
Move it around right here, go ahead.
This would be, the team would cover any cost overruns on the building of the stadium, as well as any shortfall in tax revenue, because those are 2 different things.
So the team is committed to covering cost overruns, yes, and then in the long-term financing of this building and maintaining the building in first-class condition over the course of our lease, we are committed to taking that backstop position. Ultimately, it will be the team's responsibility to be sure that this building maintains NFL standards, is worthy of the world's largest events. If the funding is not there from those tax streams, ultimately that burden will fall on the team to make up that shortfall.
Time for 1 or 2 more.
So the state has had a very antagonistic, the legislature has a very antagonistic relationship with the city right now. Is there any pressure to get this done and sealed before the state legislature meets in January?
Well, I think the pressure is to get this done in time for the August 26 season. That being said, we need to move with all speed in design and construction to get that done so that that season can open smoothly at that time. And so with the passage just in May of the state funding sources, this is actually pretty quick work to come to a design that is costed enough for the Titans to be comfortable to be backstopping any financial liabilities from the city. And so we're moving quickly to, again, be able to get the team in by August of 26, and that's going to be a great moment for the city. We look forward to getting on the list. I know Butch Bearden, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, is going to be deeply excited to be able to go and recruit these kind of events that Nashville will now be available to host going forward beyond the 26th season. And in the end, moving quickly, we've got a maintenance liability on the current stadium. You don't really want to spend good money after bad. If you're going to build a new, much better facility and use other sources of revenue to pay for it, get on with it. And don't end up having an awkward choice for the council to have to spend some money on maintenance on a stadium that's later going to be torn down, because that money could go to schools. That money could go to a lot of neighborhood things that would be great to use that. And this avoids the council having to have that difficult decision in the future by moving quickly now.
Go ahead. Mayor. Sorry, go ahead.
Mayor, one challenge with the construction and redevelopment and renovation that's going on all over the city, where's the mass transit? Where are you going to put the people that are coming to the games and using the new stadium?
Well, the East Bank planning process, adopted unanimously by the Planning Commission, with the largest community engagement since Nashville Next, has a decisive transportation improvement in it. I mean, in the end, Nashville is getting a new stadium, but really the most important thing may be that we're getting a new north-south transit spine, that you can build mass transit solutions off of that spine, and a new WeGo hub, better located. Now, none of this would be possible without moving the stadium back in the site and having the correct north-south transit spine. This stadium event, this is fantastic, but the great thing for Nashville are the other things that will come from the East Bank plan. The ability to have both sites and revenue to support affordable housing, the ability to have a world-class park system going from the dome down to the river, the ability to activate the river with greenways and parks, the ability to have cultural and educational sites. All this is made possible by the ability to move the stadium back. The fact that we are able to do this without any cost to Metro, and in fact, to get out of a multi-billion-dollar liability to Metro and then get all these incredible community benefits, such as transportation, makes this really confirm Nashville as the most exciting city going forward for the next generation of any place in the United States. And I'm grateful to the Titans to step in and help us get to this much better solution. But the stadium is fantastic, but the East Bank plan is going to be our future, serving all the neighborhoods that it can touch going forward. So thank you for your question about transportation.
Time for one more.
Mayor Cooper, about the changing landscape of the city, there's many people that are already tired of all the construction noise, seeing the cranes going up there, and have been displaced from their neighborhoods. How will this stadium change that? What do you want to say to people that don't want to deal with another 5-6 years of construction?
Well, there are no people living in the East Bank right now. So this is the great thing about this plan, right? Sometimes people say it's a zero displacement zone, that you're taking an area of Nashville that is mostly parking lots and outmoded industrial facilities, and you're creating a new neighborhood and a new way to connect two neighborhoods that have been cut off to undo the damage that was created by I-24 and I-40 when it was built. So this is a moment of urban revival. And for the construction coming up in the future, again, it's great that this is not hurting any neighborhood. There are no people living in this zero displacement East Bank. This is a great opportunity for the city, again, to create something great for us there, and to use the fact of the boulevard to reconnect our city for us. For the first time, to give people living on Dickerson Road a way to get, say, to the airport without getting on I-24 or 40. The ability to take 35,000 trips off of the interstate system. This is like adding an extra lane to I-24 and 40 in terms of community benefit from it. And the effort for us all, as challenging as development is, we are growing. Our decision is not really, are we going to grow or not? Our decision is, can we grow well? Can we grow into being a better city that serves us better? And to have the smart growth plan that allows us to do that, that is a much better outcome than electing not to grow well and not to have the innovation, the planning, and the vision to create a better community for our children and our grandchildren. The Titans piece of this is a small piece of that in the end for what our overall vision is, but it's a great piece. And it's a piece that I'm grateful to the Titans as our partners coming in and stepping up and taking a financial burden off of our taxpayers so that we can continue our investment into neighborhoods. Because that's how Nashville will be a great city, is each of our neighborhood nodes flourishing because we have investment and connectivity. All in the East Bank. I-24 prevented that from happening for a long period of time. And that's why you see it ended up being parking lots and aging industrial buildings that were never reinvested in. This is a different strategy for that. And I accept and acknowledge every citizen's anguish over all the growth that we've had. But the choice is, are we going to grow well? And are we going to do it with smart growth? And are we going to really use this moment of the city and its resources to direct those resources back into our community and, frankly, not into sports stadiums anymore, not into things that created the first era of change in Nashville, but to make the next era really work out for all of our citizens.
Thank you guys for coming.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.